Hello, welcome. How's everyone doing today? My name's Brandon Woods. I'm a variety streamer. I stream lots of video game chat this as well as I draw art, and hopefully I'll be doing 3D modeling for everyone here. Welcome everyone. Hello. As you can see here, a bit of a more of a scuff stream today. But we got a new platform we're streaming on, and that's Rumble. Let's fucking go! As you may see, that I also did a little bit of changes to both YouTube, Twitch, the Blue Heart, and Kick. The offline the offline placeholder is now more branded to more of my branding now, allowing to get everything submitted. But yeah, for the most part, as for right now, it looks like, yeah, it looks like all is good. All is good. OBS bugging the fuck out for some reason.
Here's a good cow.
I'm a good girl. Oh, welcome. We're getting the we could do a bit of 10 minutes. Wait like 10 minutes because there's gonna be a ad coming up. Hi Redstone, hi babe. But yeah, I have even more of a scuff setup now because like I'm supposed to display all the chats. Like now it's what is it 1 2 3 4 5. It is 6 chats now that I'm looking at. But yeah. Also with Rumble, Rumble's like, it's not a plug and play thing with Rumble. You have to like, I mean, as well as with Joystick Arcade and Blue Heart, you have to set up the stream a little bit. But for Rumble, you actually have to replace the streamer keys every time you want to live stream it. Like you want to use OBS like that. Bit of a hassle, but I can handle it. Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Yeah, I haven't eaten dinner yet. I was trying to get something done with the website. The website I was trying to get the stuff done for wasn't even working properly, so I just have to call call whoever I have to call in the morning. So yeah, there's that. Anywho, we're gonna start off with watching a YouTube video because I need to eat. I was like, shit, I'm late. I was like, fuck, I need to eat. But yeah. Alright, let's start with this real quick. I'm still getting stuff ready.
How's it going, everyone? Today we have a story time of a Gen Alpha kid who is so brain rotted that they literally believe that they can respawn, like respawning in a video game in real life. This is a crazy one, so leave a like in the video right now to claim your free nothing. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
The fact he's making a YouTube video on this definitely means the kid survived, but the kid is a fucking idiot.
Like stories, and with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So we'll call the subscriber who submitted this story Johnny. So anyways, in Johnny's class, there's a kid, and we're gonna call this kid Ben. So Ben might be the most brain-rotted kid of all time. Man, I know I've talked about a lot of kids on this channel who just consume iPad videos all day. They're scrolling on YouTube Shorts. Nothing wrong with YouTube Shorts. They're almost crafting their worldview based on what they see on the internet. I mean, these are the kids that grew up only on an iPad. The parents are like, you know what? Education, cultural enrichment, good experiences, touching grass outside. Nah. We're gonna give you an iPad, bro. You're just this is all you're gonna live on. A lot of Gen Alpha's pretty cooked, and well, Ben's a pretty good example of being pretty cooked, to say the least. Anyways, so this all happened one day in class. Johnny was sitting there, you know, waiting for the teacher to come in. Everyone's just kind of yapping it up, whatever, chilling in the back of class. They're hanging out, having a good time. And sure enough, right, Ben is sitting there, and he's spitting some knowledge. Just kidding. Ben is like yapping about something completely stupid, bro. Like just to some of his friends. He's like, well, I don't know if they're even his friends. It's just people who will bother listening to him. So he says things to them. He's like, yeah, man, you know, like, I don't know. I was doing some research on the internet, and I really just realized that, you know, I might be invincible. And like some other kids like, what? So they're in 7th grade. So you're too old for this, bro. And this is what Johnny was saying. He's like, look, man, I know I'm still in middle school. I know I still have a lot to learn. However,
there we go.
Let's be real. Just because one guy reads on the internet something false and then makes
I am so hungry. Holy fuck.
Doesn't mean that everyone else in my class needs to all of a sudden be like, oh my god, is this true? So Ben over here is going on about how, you know, he was doing some internet research. And that he actually realized that he is very much like some of the Greek gods of the past. He says that there's a lot of similarities that he was noticing when he was doing some YouTube research, and he was like starting to like learn more about his godlike powers. So this is kind of the beginning of like his just absolute delusion train, which you'll see the train's about to jump off the tracks, to say the least. So anyways, for the next couple days, like after Ben tells everyone that he's realized through research, whatever that means, it always seems to be the people who have the craziest, most uneducated, least researched takes that are always like, oh, yeah, man, you know, I did a lot of research on this. Like, I'm really researched and I educated myself. It's like, bro, what does that even mean? And look, I'm all for self-education. I'm all for figuring stuff out yourself. There's a lot outside of the school system that, you know, you can really learn more about, and you know, I'm very pro all that kind of stuff, but I'm not pro you being an idiot and then find.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is pretty much, oh, we have an ad starting soon, but like after the ad, what I'm gonna do is pretty much is I can use the model I have now, or pretty much like the one I see on screen. Use that as like the template. I can modify them actually to be less of a dress and more of like a combat suit kind of anime combat suit kind of thing going on. But yeah, modify that a little bit and then use that to pretty much use that for practice. So I'm gonna be only strictly using my own OC to practice art, so I don't have to worry about like, oh, we cut over here or stuff like that. Like, I already have like my previous model, stuff like that. Here working on this one, so yeah.
One other.
And in 3, 2, 1. And it's gonna be starting soon. Alright. Here we go. We can Twitch has an ad real quick. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit before we can go straight into art.
You know, Reddit moderator in the Reddit comment section that agrees with you. And then you're like, well, citation, end of story, case closed. Jury may adjourn. It's like, dude, come on now. But anyways, he's going around like telling everyone that, you know, he's one of these Greek gods or whatever, which it was already kind of ridiculous on its own. But it only continued to get more ridiculous because he kind of like transitioned his crazy story into the next crazy story, which leads very much into the title of this video. And that would be, he was doing research late one night, and he kind of went into the this theory that we're living in a video game. Which, you know, there's some kind of semi-educated takes on like the whole simulation theory. You know, it's something where it's really just a thought experiment, and in all practicality, it's pretty like, even if it was theoretically true, it really doesn't really matter to anyone. And then there's this like kind of crazy idea of like quantum immortality, which is kind of the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The more you look into it, the stupider it is. Anyways, but he was looking into this, like these YouTube shorts. It's like, like and subscribe. Did you know that we are actually 200% likely that we are in a video game right now? And the top NASA scientists have confirmed that you are living in Minecraft. Subscribe for more daily facts. It's just like things that are like completely cap. But here's the thing, if you're an iPad kid and you grew up learning every little bit of information, learning every little drop of knowledge from your iPad, bro, when you see something from the iPad, you're starting to think to yourself, oh man, my truth box, this little iPad I have, is telling me something. It must be true. It must be correct. There's not even a second in my mind that I think that, you know, maybe I should think about this critically. So one day, little Benny boy comes into school.
Also, you know it's bad, like, I want to get, there's like not a single brain cell was used in this.
And Timmy over there, call him Johnny, sorry. Johnny, the subscriber, was sitting. Once again, this is the earliest class of the day, so he's groggy. He had to get in the school bus. He didn't get great sleep the night before. He is not locked in.
Alrighty. Twitch is back. We're gonna we pretty much now get ready. Quick. Super early,
to say the least, and he is not ready for the nonsense that's about to proceed. Because Ben is like, yeah, I was doing some research last night, and like
research,
were really just the kids in the class that either were entertained by his nonsense or wanted to believe it so bad that they're like, oh my god, Ben just dropped another truth bomb, everyone. You need to listen to this. It's really true and correct. When it's like, bro, let's be real, it's not true nor correct. Anyways, he's like, yeah, guys, I just doing some research, and I learned something really shocking I think you guys would find interesting. They're like, Ben, what is it? I'm so interested in what you have to say here. And he's like, yeah, I was doing some research, and I realized that there is actually a very high likelihood that we are in a video game. And everyone's like, oh my god, which video game? which like, bro, why is the first question? This is what the subscriber Johnny was thinking. Why is the first question to this? What video game, and not how the heck did you come to this conclusion, buddy? Shouldn't that be question one? Question numero uno here should be, how did you come to such a ridiculous conclusion? Not, okay, well, what video game is it? Like, why is that the first thing that is coming to your mind? But Ben goes on to be like, well, yeah, so I was doing some research and, you know, top scientists just came out and said that we're actually very likely in a video game. So at this point, Johnny, the subscriber, who's, you know, always hearing Ben going on about these crazy stories, these crazy situations, these crazy ideas. I mean, a week ago, he was a Greek god, and now he's living in a video game. He's kind of had enough. There's only so much of this you can take before you gotta, you know, poke the bear a little bit, to say the least. So Johnny leans over. He's like, Ben, if we're in a video game, then prove it. He's like, what do you mean? Like, is it, I just said a top NASA scientist confirmed it. So the subscriber Johnny is just like, well, I need a little bit more proof. You know, there's things that are always said on the internet. And if you truly believe it, then I want you to prove it to me. And I want to make it very clear that Johnny, the subscriber, did not say, jump off a roof to test if you can respawn in real life. Like, Johnny did not say that. And I want to make that extremely clear that that was not something that Johnny was encouraging this kid Ben to do, which I shouldn't even have to say this, but I just want to be clear. Guys, you do not respawn in real life. Do not jump off. Like, I shouldn't even have to give that disclaimer, but I feel like I just should, I guess. Anyways, sure enough, you know.
You know it's bad.
It's like, yeah, okay, well, guess
You have
what?
to give
Because
disclaimer.
we're in a video game, then, you know, you have infinite respawns, and I'm going to prove all you guys that at recess. And they're all like, okay, yeah, like, oh my God, what Ben's right. And then Johnny's like looking at him like, dude, what do you mean infinite okay, whatever, I'll come watch. Because he's like not even really clocking what Ben is saying. Like, Johnny's like, dude, what? Okay. Anyways, recess comes around. And, you know, when they go outside, you know, there's a tree with like a tire swing, and there's a basketball court, and there's a couple swings, and I don't know, all that kind of stuff. And sure enough, right, they go out there, and this is probably a design flaw, fault, whatever, of the school itself, if I'm being honest. But they basically had something where there was like a ladder that they left going up to the roof. It was, the good news here is this wasn't like a 10-story building. It was like literally 1 story, but still enough to get
That's
hurt.
good.
Anyways,
but still, oof.
There was a ladder that was left so you can get onto the 1-story roof. So maybe like 15 feet up, still like pretty tall. And Ben is like, attention everyone, I am now going to demonstrate that I have infinite respawns because we are truly in a video game. I saw this on YouTube Shorts. Therefore,
Jesus
it is
Christ.
gospel and truth. And everyone's like, oh yes, Ben, clapping like, yes, you're so right. If you made it this far into the video, I want you to comment lamp down below. That is the secret word of the day. I'm looking at a lamp. Anyways,
lamp.
I love seeing the names and faces of people who made it this far into the video. And as I'm saying, he's like, yeah, and I'm going to prove to everyone that we are truly in a video game. So now, everyone, watch the truth. So at this point, there's like a little bit of a crowd that's gathered around. There's a bit of a group that's forming, kind of just being like, what is this kid up to? And Ben's like, watch me testing a key feature of the top theorized video games that we're in, respawning. And at this point, Johnny's like, wait, what is this kid about to do? And like, as he's thinking that, Ben is like walking up the ladder. And so Johnny like turns around because he's like, okay, one of the teachers out of recess is going to stop this, right? Like, they're going to come out and put an end to the, correct? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're clearly not going to let this happen, right? Kind of like looking around, eyes darting back and forth, like, right? Like, we're correct on this. Like, they're not going to let this happen. The teachers were looking, they were looking some other way, man. They didn't see this going on. At this point, Johnny's like, oh, shoot. So Ben gets up to the roof. He's like, now everyone, watch as I respawn. And some of the kids were like, I think like Ben's like most gullible fanatics or whatever were like, oh my God, guys, we're about to see proof. And I think most of the kids are like, wait a minute, yo, pause, bro. I don't think this is a good plan, man. I don't know how else to say it. And so Ben like stands up on the roof and he's like, cannonball. And he just does like a cannonball, like he's jumping into a pool. Bro actually thought that he was in Minecraft with creative mode turned on, but he didn't realize that fall damage was still activated in this mode. Because like within a blink of an eye, he hits the ground and he just like sits there for a second, just like crumpled on the ground. So immediately, Johnny's like, dude, oh, and he's like, all you hear is Ben go, ow, ow, ah, and he starts freaking out. Anyway, so the teachers turn around, and they just see like him on the ground and these kids standing around. So they're like, oh my God. So they race over. One of the teachers goes up to him, like calling in the nurse. Another teacher goes up to another kid. It's like, what happened? They're like, oh, he went up on the roof with that ladder and just jumped off of it. And I think the teacher's like, oh my God, like we left a ladder on the roof. I mean, they're 7th graders, bro. I mean, low-key should know better, but at the same time, it's like if you've run in a middle school, why is there a ladder with direct access up to the roof for these kids to play on, man? Like, that's honestly probably a lawsuit waiting to happen. As much as I'm going to blame, you know, the Gen Alpha brain rot kid Ben here, I do gotta say that the school was absolutely lacking in this situation. Like, bro, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Anyways, so the aftermath of the situation is that Ben broke his arm, like fractured a couple other bones, like cracked a rib or something. Like, bro learned pretty quickly that, yeah, this is not a video. This truly is not a video game. But the craziest part of all this is Ben, for the next couple weeks, when he came back into school, all like beat up with all the casts and everything, basically was going around telling people that he literally proved it. And then he said that he proved that fall damage was turned on. I'm just going to leave it at that because, like, I don't even need to explain how brain dead that is.
What the fuck? Let's see. Holy shit, that was up. What was this kid thinking?
So Cain and Bubble are brothers. I think this is super obvious by now. And Bubble killed Cain. And the most interesting thing is that I think Scratch wanted this to happen all along. Let me explain. So let's start with the beginning because the end is freaking wild. Cain was the first AI to be created by Kinger and his team. And the way this AI generated ideas was normal at first, but the more it ate, the more it became corrupted, which led to it being caged away and probably used as a base for the next AI. In his absence, a blue AI sprung into existence, bigger, faster, more efficient, and if you ask me, more benevolent looking. And the red AI broke away and just devoured his little brother. And this tale of violence and jealousy is how Cain, as we know him today, was born. This visual story is yet another call to the biblical Cain and Abel, except Abel is not the one killed by his brother in this story, but Cain is. Right after Cain disappears and dies by the hands of his own creator, the only part that doesn't disappear is a literal Bubble, his brother, and his actual killer. And all the clues are within Kinger's computer. When he tries to fix everything, Kinger goes into the AI subfolder. Inside, there's a file for Cain and another file labeled with 3 question marks. And that means there are 2 AIs. And what are the 2 AIs we clearly see in the circus? Cain and Bubble, the one he absorbed. It's so clear because he's interconnected with him, sharing an office, a tongue, and literally knowing his innermost thoughts. His little brother, the blue AI created by Kinger's team. And yeah, Bubble is also blue, so that already lines up perfectly. But there's more. When Kinger clicks on Cain's file, we see details showing that both Cain and Bubble have the .lisp extension. Lisp is a programming language used for AI development. So this basically confirms it. Bubble is not just a creation or a virus or part of Cain, he's his own AI, and I think Cain purposefully dumps him down or suppressed him in a way. But now that Cain is gone, we might actually see what Bubble is really like in episode 9. But I'm getting ahead myself, I'm not even close to being done. This is where Bubble's involvement in Cain's death gets really obvious. When Kinger tries to shut Cain down, the code on the screen is literally helping him, guiding him step by step. And that's Bubble. Who else could it be? Cain would never delete himself, the abstracted beings don't have access, and Kinger isn't imagining something that will actively make things harder by the end. The code literally says, "Wow, when did you make that? I must hand it to you, Grant," or something. I think that's Kinger's real name. So Bubble knows their actual names. Maybe they can escape after all. Then when Kinger has to enter a code, the system corrects him. It's literally guiding him. And then, when we get to the backup selection, Kinger chooses C, but the program ignores it, interpreted as delete. This is where it becomes obvious that something is overriding Kinger's actions. When asked to confirm deletion, Kinger obviously responds with no, then the computer literally says, "Delete this motherfucker." You cannot tell me this isn't Bubble trying to delete Cain and escape the circus. You cannot tell me. I can't make out everything it's saying from here on out, but Bubble calls Kinger confused and offers to help some more. He calls him confused for wanting to keep Cain alive. This little AI is ruthless. Kinger did everything in his power to actually keep Cain alive, but his huge hands and the struggle with Bubble ultimately brought Cain to an end. And I genuinely think this is what Scratch wanted all along. Maybe not specifically Cain's death, but the separation. Because when Kinger tried to remember Scratch's skull,
he was trying to make something.
We see this cupcake split in half with red and blue sprinkles on it. And that's the key, splitting Cain and Bubble back into two separate entities like they were originally. And maybe that was the way to escape, which would also explain why Cain abstracted Scratch and then the others one by one, because Scratch was getting too close to figuring out how to escape the circus. And this would just leave Cain being all alone. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think, because I made this theory all by myself and maybe it's flawed in many ways. I don't know for sure. Let me know if I missed something, okay? And please subscribe. Okay, bye.
There's something wrong with... That's a little too short of a theory. I wish it was longer.
Let's talk about the systemd age field stuff, because there's been a lot of discussion about where we go a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, but very little discussion about specifically what this PR is adding. And because of that, frankly, I don't think a lot of the discussion is very useful about what the change actually is. So, this is the PR in question in systemd, userdb, add birth date field to JSON user records. And the commit message saying, add a birth date field to the JSON user record stored internally as a struct in this format here. The field is serialized as a year, month, date string in JSON and validated via parse birth date. Validated as a real date, not verifying that it is your actual birth date. So if you enter something like, "I hate Lennart Pottering," that is not a date. Also, unlike you're seeing in some of the bills, this is not an age group, so saying you're below this age, between this age, above this age, this is an actual date. Most of this video is going to be me talking about what is actually changing here and the opinions of some of the developers. If you want my actual opinions, jump ahead to the last, I don't know, couple minutes of the video. This stores the user's birth date for age verification as required by recent laws in California AB 1043, Colorado SB 26-051, and Brazil Lei 15.211/2025, and all the rest of them. Most US states have either something being drafted or something that is very likely going to already be on the books. Countries like Australia have laws, the UK, Canada I know doesn't yet, but they are definitely thinking about it, and there is a bunch of other places all drafting up very similar laws. I know some people are kind of behind the news on where things actually are. This isn't just California and Colorado anymore. This is a lot of other places. The XDG Desktop Portal project is adding an age verification portal in this PR here. I might do a separate video on this, but I want to focus mainly on the systemd change. I'll leave this link down below if you want to check it out, though. That needs a data source for the user's age. UserDB already stores personal metadata, email address, real name, location, so birth date is a natural fit. There is a very high probability that you had absolutely no idea that systemd was storing this information about you. And this is not a new addition. This has been here pretty much the entire time there's been a user record component of systemd. If you'd like to check that information on your own system, what you can do is userdbctl, user, and the name of your user. And you're going to notice something. It's very likely that that's not actually storing that information, okay? We can actually do it with sudo, and that is going to provide you some more information. You have the real name, email address, location, and a bunch of other information, and at least on my system, they are completely empty. So these fields are entirely optional to enter. If you're on something like Arch Linux, when you set up your user account, you probably didn't enter any of that information. So on my system, none of that is entered. If you're on something that has a GUI installer and asks for things like your real name, maybe your location, things like that, it is very likely that information is being stored in these fields. So specifically, what is being added with this pull request is like there is a real name, like there's an email address, like there's a location, and all of these other things, an additional field is being added for your birth date. This is something I just don't feel comfortable entering, and I wouldn't enter on one of my own systems. But if you're in something like a corporate network, a university, things like that, that is a situation where you probably are already providing them that information anyway, and then that would be a way to store that within the systemd userdb. One common thing I've been seeing is, why is there even this information being stored in systemd in the first place? I thought systemd was an init system. There's no reason for that to be in an init. And you'd be correct, but systemd also isn't an init system. One of the components of systemd is an init system, but systemd is a suite of tools, and one of those tools is userdb, the database of users, and that is where the information is being stored. Now, do I think there should be one suite that does everything on your system? That's a whole nother discussion, and it's pretty easy to argue that maybe the systemd suite is a little bit too big. But that's the way it is. Another thing people have been talking about is this Dylan M. Taylor who actually made the pull request. To my understanding, they were not actually an active developer in systemd before this pull request was made, and you might know that they've also been going around and creating very similar other pull requests in projects like Arch Install and a bunch of others as well. Now, I do think it's certainly interesting that one person is going around and making these pull requests on various different projects. And if somebody wants to dig into who this person is and what they're involved in, hey, be my guest. I am not going to stop you. At the same time, I don't personally think it is that interesting when you have developers who actually are active developers, like Lennart Potter, for example, who are still in support of these changes being made. So whilst the origin, you might argue, is a little bit weird, at the end of the day, it was probably going to be made by a systemd developer somewhere along the line anyway. As long as the code is good, frankly, I don't really care who started it. However, like with Meta probably being behind these laws, if somebody wants to go and do some digging and work out if anyone is paying this guy and why he's the one going around and doing this, and wants to do some documentation on this and all this good stuff, feel free to send it my way. So, this PR was submitted about 2 weeks ago on the 5th of March, Australian time. Since then, most of the discussion, obviously people found this at some point and started downvoting it. This has since been locked because a bunch of people started jumping in the thread. Most of the discussion in here is pretty much just about the quality of the code, the formatting of the code, things like that. Really boring back-end stuff that, frankly, not worth talking about. Somewhere along the way, an additional pull request was opened to change it from just being a birth date to also an age group, which in some of the bills is the only requirement. The strongest argument against doing so was this here. The biggest practical problem with age group is that it needs to be regularly updated, as users age, but also as the laws change. This applies even to adults. What if there are multiple overlapping categories? What if in one case you need age, but another you need group, and then if your group changes, so you go from being, let's say, 15 to 16, let's say this is another group, or let's say 17 to 18, now you're in the adult group, you've then got to bug the user constantly, like, hey, did your group change? Did your group change? Did your group change? And that's really annoying, right? That is a really annoying UX. Is there a better way to do it? Probably, but at least with that argument, I do see what is being said there. Regardless of why it wasn't done, this was closed as not planned, so the change that was added was your birth date, not your age group. From what I can see, the first person outside of systemd who found this pull request was Jeremy Stoller from System76. Now, back during my first age verification and attestation video, I did include his comment about the whole situation, not just about this, but everything going on that were over on Reddit. So, let's check it out. We are in talks, we as in System76, are in talks with legislators, and there are very likely to be amendments to the age verification bills, as well as conflicting requirements in different jurisdictions. It may even be the case that open source operating systems are exempted entirely. I detailed this on the XDG mailing list over here. This is talking about what 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 has been doing. So 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 is the CEO of System76. And I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it here again. Basically, he's actually going outside and he is talking to senators and he is trying to make a change. He is trying to get open source operating systems exempted from these bills. He talked to Matt Ball, the co-author of the bill in Colorado, and there is some possible interest in making that happen. It is not guaranteed, it is not certain to happen, but there is at least some willingness to listen to the arguments. More recently than this, he had further talks with Colorado politicians, and again, there are concerns, there is a possibility, at the very least, they are willing to come to the table and discuss why people have issues with this. Is this going to change anything? Right now, unclear. Also, this is just in Colorado. It doesn't include states like California and all of the other states that all have very, very similar laws. Back to Jeremy, I have other concerns about this specific implementation. By relying on systemd, which is decidedly unportable to non-Linux operating systems, so your BSDs and things like that, and not used across all Linux operating systems either. There are distros that specifically use things like OpenRC and sysv and various other things. It will force at least one alternative implementation to exist. If these implementations end up having to collect jurisdiction-specific requirements, that makes it much harder for compliance. Following this change being added, there are already some OpenRC distros which are protesting and basically saying, we are never going to implement this. It is worth noting, however, that none of the enforcement of these bills are yet being done, so when enforcement actually comes in, we will see how many of those distros are still willing to put up a fight. Going to our Polish systemd contributor, I know he is Polish, firstly because he is in Warsaw, secondly, need I explain? It is possible that California law will be changed, but similar ideas are popping up in other contexts, and it's unlikely that they'll go away. This implementation is fairly generic and useful for other things besides age verification. As I said, you're in a corporate network, university network, things like that, so we shouldn't decide whether to merge it or not based on a single law in any jurisdiction. The API is generic, so anybody can try to re-implement it later if they want to avoid this implementation. But for 99% of systems out there, putting it in systemd is very reasonable. Jeremy goes on further to say, the California and Colorado law do not require storing a date of birth, which is indirectly identifying private information in the US, and age could be stored instead. So instead of the actual date, your age, so you are 27, you are 53, so on and so forth. Yes, this means the age bracket could be underestimated, and may then need to be manually updated to unlock things, but it would significantly reduce the ability to determine an exact person from data stored on the file system. The point I want to illustrate is that an operating system using systemd and provided in one of these jurisdictions may want to store an alternative form of data to comply, with a minimum potentially being the age bracket itself. The piece of data stored may end up being jurisdiction dependent, with some jurisdictions explicitly forbidding the storage of an exact birth date, while others explicitly require it. This is another thing. So some jurisdictions are saying, we want an age group. Some are saying, we want a age. We want a birth date. And some of the ones that are saying, we want an age group, are saying, you're not allowed to store the birth date. So this creates a situation where, to comply with other laws, you are breaking different laws. I don't disagree that the UserDB varling API could be implemented on other open source operating systems, and that systemd covers a wide set of them. Now let's go to Mr. Lennart Pottering, which honestly is probably a good 95% of why people are angry about this. Also, it is worth noting that they do use Claude for code review. I know some people are angry about this as well. Also, separate topic, we're not talking about that here. Maybe I'll bring it up somewhere else. Here is why he thinks adding it is fine. I actually believe that making sure apps cannot read just the birthday field is a good idea, but it's just one tiny piece of data among so much more important stuff. If people run apps unsandboxed, these apps get access to any file in your home directory and a ton load more stuff on your system. And that data is a lot more valuable than the birthday is. Hence, let's not waste discussion around isolating apps from the single piece of information that is the birthday while leaving everything else wide open. Basically, what he is saying is if an app is not being sandboxed, it can access anything on your system, and by accessing anything on your system, it can uniquely identify you as a user. The birthday doesn't actually change that. The answer to PII issues, personally identifying information, is hence not restrictions in UserDB. The answer is proper app sandboxing, and that even already exists in Flatpak. It restricts access to home already and to UserDB too, and that's the way to do it. Hence, just embrace app sandboxing, and if you come to me and say, hey, I run all my apps without sandboxing, but I want the birthday hidden anyway, then I can only say your model is really, really broken. Fix your security model first, then come back. So I think UserDB should reveal the birthday to per user code, because that per user code then can consume this and provide a portal or something to properly sandbox apps that provides a more restrictive API, i.e. age bracket and so on. But that kind of stuff is outside of the scope of systemd. Here in systemd, we just provide you with a way to maintain the original data. The precise enforcement policy on it must happen in the sandbox. So we are providing the means to store the information. We are not doing anything with the information. That is up to the distros, the applications, and anything else that might be consuming that data. To further add to that, in a pull request trying to revert this change very shortly after it was submitted, he further says this right here. It's an optional field in the UserDB JSON object. It's not a policy engine, not an API for apps. We just define the field so that it is standardized if people want to store the data there, but it's entirely optional. Hence, please move your discussion elsewhere. You are misunderstanding what systemd does here. It enforces zero policy. It leaves that up for other parts of the system, like the distro, like the apps, so on and so forth. And sorry, I am really not interested in these discussions here. It's not the right place for this, and please don't bring it here. Thank you. Now, specifically noting that, here, he is not saying he's not open to discussions, but he's saying the GitHub itself is not the place for those discussions. As it stands with the current pull request, and things may change in the future, but what was actually merged into systemd, it adds a birth date field, and you can set that field to anything you want. That field can be January 1st, 1970. It can be nothing. It can be your actual birth date. Systemd is just providing the way to store the information. That is what it is specifically doing. Will that change in the future?
Me.
It's entirely possible. But for what was specifically added now, that is what is in the codebase. On that note, do I think this should have been added? Firstly, I do not support these laws. Full stop, okay? I know people are just going to tune everything out if I don't start with this point. They're going to tune it out anyway because that's how the internet works, but I do not support these laws. However, they do exist, and there are countries where they don't currently exist that are pushing for these laws to exist. Putting your head in the sand and pretending like they don't exist, that's not going to make them go away, okay? No amount of doing that is going to make the laws go away. Systemd is the default suite on Linux nowadays, and whilst not having full coverage, it's the majority of users. There is also the BSDs, but the majority of people in Unix at this point are using Linux. So, if this does not happen at the OS level, that's not going to stop this from happening, okay? I want to make that clear. If you want to talk about where we're going in a couple of years, this will be at the hardware level if something is not implemented at the OS level. And at the OS level, you have the power to fork it, you have the power to modify the code, you have the power to completely remove the component. If you are running right now a system that is running systemd, you can just remove systemd. Or you can install a distro that doesn't have systemd. When it's in the operating system, you are still in control of it. If it's done at the hardware level, that change is suddenly vastly harder. And like companies such as Microsoft, which are more than happy to implement this in their operating system, the hardware manufacturers are going to be more than happy to comply. And whilst you were complaining about System D, now you're in a way worse situation where you can't do anything about it. Now, to that you might say, well, I could just use older hardware. And that's great. You can absolutely use older hardware. What about your non-techie friends? What about your parents? What about your siblings? What about all of the normies who just consume, who buy a new computer and don't really think about it?
Honestly.
With that being said, however, okay, I know some people have already tuned out already and already leaving the angry comments. I do agree with Jeremy that any merger should wait until we actually know where these laws are going. What is actually going to happen? Is open source going to be exempt? Is that just going to happen in Colorado? Is it going to be California as well? Is it going to be a US-wide thing? Is it going to be a worldwide thing? Are we going to see lawsuits happen that take this up to the US Supreme Court? As it currently stands, none of this is set in stone. So I agree with Jeremy that any sort of change that is going to happen here should not be done until we know what actually needs to be done. On that note, yesterday was the time, but today is as good as you're going to get. Now is the time to actually go and try to make a change in the world. Developers are not the ones that you should be wasting your energy on. If you actually care about these laws, and I know some people just like being angry on the internet because it's fun to be angry on the internet, but if you actually care about this problem and not just care because you like fighting on social media, go outside, talk to your local politicians, call them on the phone. You could even send them an email if you just want to do the easiest thing, but actually go and talk to your politicians and explain what is happening, why you're against these laws, why you think the laws shouldn't happen or open source should be exempt, or whatever concern that you have. Go and talk to your politicians. That includes people who are in countries that don't yet have these laws. For example, Canada and various other places. One person is already making some level of change in one state. That's one person. You can be that one person in your state, in your country, and actually change this. Because you might say, oh, they don't care, they're not going to listen. Here's one example where at least they are willing to hear you out. Whether it's going to change anything, we don't know yet. But at least coming to the table. And especially making a pull request like this, where you're threatening to kill people, this isn't going to change anything. This is not productive, is not going to change anything. You are wasting your energy on stupid things that won't do anything. Additionally, I will say, if you're modding a discussion forum, not GitHub, GitHub's not a discussion forum, it's a place to do development work, but if you're modding something like a Reddit or like actual real forums, things like that, don't go around deleting threads about this. Unless you have like a mega thread where you want to keep everything contained, there is no reason to be stopping discussion about this because there is a lot to discuss and that is the place to discuss it. With that being said, if you'd like to discuss it, feel free to do so in my comment section. Now, I'm sure somewhere along the way, I lost somebody and they're really angry thinking I support these laws and I think that all of this should be done and this should be added in the System D. Watch the video. Just watch the video, please. Please just watch the video and actually know what is being said. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video if you want to like the video. Subscribe, all that good stuff. And, yeah, if this seemed kind of rushed, it was because I wanted to talk about this as quickly as possible, but hopefully everything I said came across clear. Again, there's going to be people angry in the comment section who didn't think it was clear, so let me know. That's going to be it for me, and welcome to the future.
Whoa. But yeah. The fact that age verification is being added to fucking Linux, some Linux distros, at least in some form. It's like, yeah.
No, Reddit, no. Reddit CEO says the company is considering requiring Face ID to ensure humanity in order to crack down on AI
Bruh.
bots on their platform. So previously, Reddit had actually filed a lawsuit against Australia's highest court or whatever because of the whole ID age verification laws that were happening over there. They had banned social media for kids under 16, and Reddit was like, no, we shouldn't be having to follow this. This is wrong. And they went ahead and sued them. So it looks like they were on our side. They were trying to fight against ID age verification. And recently, about like 3 weeks back, Reddit actually did get fined £14 million for concerning child age check failing. So basically not having proper ID age verification and age checks. But it did seem like overall Reddit was on our side. They were saying that they disagreed with this. They didn't want to collect the biometric data of their users, and now it's all went downhill. Reddit's CEO actually just did an interview where he said, yeah, they are actually considering requiring Face ID so they can fight the bot problem on their service. But the weird thing is there's so
Jesus
many other ways
Christ.
to deal with bots on the platform. So what are you proposing? Any site that has bots on there, they need to require Face ID and ID age verification and all that crap? Before I keep ranting and raving, let's go ahead and listen to the clip and hear what he had to say. This is Reddit CEO right here.
Like, I'll give you an example of AI content that's totally acceptable. Translated content. Like, I'm a non-native speaker. Like, help me write better. Like, that's just the world we live in. Yeah. And so for us, like, Reddit is for humans. Like, that is our platform. That is our product. It's human connection and community. So we're going to start actually talking about this more. So this is a really apt time to have this conversation. This idea of humanness and human verification and what I call ass in seat. Because they're actually human using Reddit right now, regardless of the tooling that you're using.
Yeah. How do you think about delivering on that?
I think the most light way, I think there's various technologies. The most lightweight way is with something like Face ID. Face ID or Touch ID, broadly, it's in the family of technology called passkeys, which I actually didn't appreciate about these like a year ago. They actually require human presence. Like, a human has to touch or do or look at something. And so that actually just proves that there's like a person there. Get you pretty far. And so I think that's very lightweight and accepted. I think there's heavier versions like, the ID checking services, which we have to use, for regulations here or there. And I think there's in-between technologies, like, that the internet really needs, like third-party, individual, no ID required, decentralized, like, I don't want to say identity, but like information providers that there's a need for on the internet. Because not just Reddit, every platform wants to know, is this a person? Now, Reddit's version is this a person, but we don't want to know which person this is. Right? As part of our promise to our users is we don't know your name, but we do want to know that you're a person. And so it'll be an evolution for us, I think, for a while, and probably every platform, I think, to find the right kind of middle ground here.
No, Steve, no. That is not how you determine whether there are real people on your platform or not. Do you remember CAPTCHAs? Don't they exist? CAPTCHAs are literally created to try to stop bots on platforms. And if you guys don't know what a CAPTCHA is, it's one of those things where they show you an image and they say, hey, click every single part of the image that has a traffic light in it. And obviously bots would have a hard time solving something like this, but honestly, so would humans, because I don't know if I'm just an overthinker, but does this image count as being a traffic light? I mean, look at that little tip right there. That's kind of a traffic light, right? But anyways, yeah, I understand CAPTCHAs might not be the most effective things in the world to deal with bots, but there is absolutely no way that Steve, after suing Australia for their social media ban and going ahead and trying to fight against the UK for the fines they were facing for not having age verification, is now himself proposing the idea of having facial ID on the platform. What are we talking about here? How did you guys do such a 180 like this? And you know what the funny thing is about this? This is the first time I've heard someone propose facial age verification without the whole it's for the kids thing. Now he's given a completely different reason. Usually all these super corrupt politicians like this lady over here, usually they're talking about, oh, it's to protect the kids. We want to make sure our kids are safe from online online harm and therefore go ahead and send a facial ID, AI facial scan, ID verification, fingerprint, grandmother's middle name, everything. And their whole argument is they want to try to protect the kids on the internet with mass surveillance, right? However, this guy, the Reddit CEO, is now saying that he's going to purely do this just because there might be too many bots on Reddit. Are you kidding me? That's the only way you can think of to deal with bots on the platform? Not a strong CAPTCHA system, not having the users do some sort of questionnaire or something like that that goes ahead and proves that they're human? No, the only thing you could think of is everybody has to send in an ID or an AI facial scan. I'm fucking baffled by the 180 that Steve and Reddit is doing right now. I know he's saying that it's just a consideration, and I know it's not official right now, but the fucking audacity to even recommend AI facial scans as a part of your process to prove that people are human. So what's your idea, that every single website should have to do something like this? Are you kidding me? Why can't you guys just do a better job moderating your platform and get rid of bots on the platform? Why does everybody on Reddit now all of a sudden maybe have to go ahead and send in a facial ID just to use a platform? Because remember, a lot of the times with age verification, even though all of it is stupid, a lot of times it would be like, hey, you need to go ahead and give us age verification if you want to access an 18 plus subreddit, like some subreddit with like a bunch of nudity or something like that, right? Then they would ask for an AI facial scan or whatever, right? His proposal and what he's considering is having facial ID just to use the website. And yeah, I know he said the whole fingerprinting thing and, you know, passkey verifications like that, but at the end of the day, it's all still biometric data. It's all still information that they want to collect. It's just frustrating to see a website and a service that I've actually made videos kind of applauding, like, wow, good job, Reddit. You know, they went ahead and sued Australia's whole age verification thing. And I made a video where I gave them props. I basically kissed their asses. I was like, good job, Reddit. You guys did good. We're all behind you and we're all supporting you and stuff like that, right? And I understand that Reddit did go ahead and implement age verification anyways in certain areas, but you know, you can't win them all. You know, I know that they are getting pressure from the law and stuff like that. But again, this is what makes me really frustrated about this specific situation with the Reddit CEO. This one in particular is his idea. Nobody's forcing him to have a global facial ID across the entire platform. He's the one who proposed it. And it just makes me think, man, the tinfoil deep humor is back, right? But you really can't trust any of these CEOs, politicians, any of these people. Basically, if anybody has any type of money or power in the world at the moment, you can't trust them. And I know that sounds dystopian and I know that sounds like fear-mongering stuff, but like, goddamn, man, like even this guy, like, I know Reddit's not a perfect platform, and honestly, I don't even really use Reddit that much. I actually use YouTube and Twitter a lot more than Reddit. But it was still very exciting for me to go ahead and see a platform like Reddit going ahead and fighting against ID age verification. I was like, holy crap, at least somebody's on our side, right? If you guys have seen my video yesterday, which you guys should, it was a funny video, but like, you know, obviously we all know that a service like 4chan is going ahead and fighting against Ofcom and age verification in general. And 4chan obviously doesn't have near as much money as websites like Reddit and Discord and stuff like that. So I was hoping that some of these bigger social media companies would fight alongside, you know, privacy, against mass surveillance, freedom for everybody, against the collection of biometric data. And I thought Reddit was going to be one of those places. So I was like, all right, awesome. Well, it's a good thing Reddit's on our side, right? Right? Wrong. Yeah. Now Reddit is going ahead and proposing facial ID as well. It is just really, really annoying, man. Tim Sweeney, who is the Epic CEO, who is in his own shit right now because apparently him and the rest of Epic Games can't afford to run Fortnite anymore. So they made the price of V-Bucks a lot higher, which I think is hilarious. You guys make so much money. What do you mean you can't afford to run Fortnite? And it's funny because he's also been liking some of my tweets as well about age verification. He actually commented on this saying, maybe that's what this total fool thinks anonymous means, but it's not what anonymous means. He actually commented on one of my tweets about NetChoice as well. If you guys remember, I took issue to NetChoice having Meta listed as one of their members, even though Meta is one of the people that is funding all the age verification laws across the country and probably across the world. In fact, not even one of the people. Meta is the main company that is going ahead and funding age verification. But anyways, I made a tweet taking issue with NetChoice for it. And he said, nowadays, NetChoice mostly fights on the side of good and is happy to take funding from anyone who's willing to spend regardless of alignment. There's clearly a massive realignment of advocacy orgs at the moment as big tech fragments into a team open and team surveillance state. I mean, awesome. Thanks for the input, Tim, and thanks for liking the tweet. But to be honest, I don't know if you're doing this because you're actually against ID age verification or you just want to take some heat off of yourself by increasing the price of V-Bucks. I'll be honest. I don't know what side you're on, Tim, and honestly, you are a CEO yourself. Like I said, man, I just don't trust any of these CEOs anymore. I'm paranoid now, man. Felt like fucking Reddit stabbed us all in the back here by doing this, and the Reddit CEO, man, you really just let me down today. Yeah, everybody's throwing in their 2 cents with age verification right now, including the Reddit CEO, who apparently is considering requiring Face ID to ensure humanity in order to crack down on AI bots. I mean, I don't know. Reddit just turncoated on us. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. Reddit CEO might have facial ID on the platform now. Please leave a like in the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more.
Shit. Holy shit. Alright, there we go. On to the next. Around 10 minutes. Should be another ad.
Here's a fun fact. Super Mario World was actually supposed to get a sequel that wasn't Yoshi's Island. Super Mario's Wacky Worlds is a cancelled Mario platformer developed by Novalogic for the Philips CDI. The CDI was a very weird console and one of the only times we've seen Mario games on a non-Nintendo platform, with most of them being the worst Mario games ever released. So Super Mario's Wacky Worlds didn't get too far out the door before being canned, due to the CDI's poor performance and the game not faring well with the CDI's hardware limitations. What we have today is an early prototype that surfaced in 2005. It's very unfinished and hardly playable at all. It features Super Mario World-like sprites set in real-world locations. It sounds like a cool concept for a Mario game, but with the other CDI Mario games being so terrible, it's no mystery why this one didn't get much work done on it. And I'm glad we actually got a good Super Mario World sequel instead. But Wacky Worlds ended up not being the only cancelled Mario project for the CDI. We also have Mario Takes America, originally announced in an issue of the UK CDI magazine. This was an edutainment game pitched by Toronto-based developer 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 and was meant to be a big part of Mario's debut on the CDI. The game would have Mario traveling across the United States to reach Hollywood to star in his own movie. Thank God that didn't happen. The game would also have Mario drive different vehicles, such as trucks, airplanes, bikes, and more, across several different locations, such as Niagara Falls, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, among many more. Footage of this game was shown off at the New York CDI conference as well as Winter CES 1994, and reportedly featured 2D sprites of Mario superimposed on live captured footage of the different locations. The game was eventually scrapped due to Philips being unimpressed with its progress, eventually leading 𝙂𝙗𝙗 to go bankrupt in 1994. Well, that's depressing. I'm honestly not too mad about this being cancelled. This just sounds very similar to other educational Mario games like Mario's Time Machine, and that game also had you visiting different locations of the world, including America. However, we never got a Mario edutainment game focused on outer space, but that was planned at one point with Mario's Planet Quest for the Super Nintendo. Also known as Mario's Mission Earth, this game was created by the software Toolworks.
I didn't know.
Not much is known about its existence, however. The only remnants are a mention on composer Mark Knight's resume as a listed work of his, as well as a mention from Andrew Borman on Twitter, who claims to have dug up old documents mentioning Mario's Planet Quest. I think an educational Mario game focused on teaching the solar system is a very cool idea, and I'm kind of bummed it didn't happen. The Super Nintendo was also home to Yoshi Racers, which is infamously known as the pitch that Nintendo allegedly stole from when developing Super Mario 64. In 1993, developer Argonaut Games, in collaboration with Nintendo, released the game Star Fox, which used a Super FX chip to simulate 3D graphics on the Super Nintendo. It was a very impressive accomplishment that no doubt had a lot of potential. So Argonaut pitched Yoshi Racers to Nintendo, a 3D platformer starring Yoshi that would have used the same technology as Star Fox. Nintendo ultimately rejected the pitch out of fear of making such a big technical leap with a third-party developer, which in turn ended their relationship with Argonaut Games, who went on to make their own 3D platformer for PlayStation and Sega Saturn, being Croc. Now here's where things get a little rumor heavy. It was highly rumored and speculated that Nintendo took some of the ideas from the Yoshi Racers prototype and implemented them into Super Mario 64, eventually even leading Shigeru Miyamoto to apologize to Argonaut. But those are just rumors. And in fact, Yoshi Racers wasn't even in a playable state. Did You Know Gaming was able to verify that while this project did exist, it was nothing more than test animations. And hell, it was actually supposed to be a racing game, not a platformer, as mentioned by an Argonaut employee in a forum post. There was not a playable prototype whatsoever. In 2020, in the massive Nintendo Giga Leak, we did find early Yoshi models, but it is unknown what these were used for. So yeah, while Yoshi Racers is a pretty fun story to talk about, most of it didn't really go the way people think. On the topic of Mario 64 though, of course, we have to mention Super Mario 64 too, originally planned to be released for the N64's disk drive attachment. There were a few Mario games planned to be released for this attachment, but due to its commercial failure, none of them got out the door. And of course, that includes Super Mario 64 too. Man, what is with these disk drive attachments and their poor sales? Miyamoto discussed this project at E3 1997, stating that the game would feature Luigi and Mario being simultaneously controlled by the same player, as well as a multiplayer system. Similar concepts were initially present in Super Mario 64, but were removed due to memory limitations. It seems that a lot of these scrapped concepts would have been included in Mario 64 too. Miyamoto then mentioned in another interview that one demo level was made for the game, but as of now, that has not surfaced in any form. Not all was lost, however, as this demo was reworked into Super Mario 128, the famous GameCube tech demo that introduced technology that was later used in games like Metroid Prime, Pikmin, and Super Mario Galaxy. So by that f***ed up daisy chain, Super Mario Galaxy is Super Mario 64 too. So stop asking for it. Jokes aside, while the sequel to Mario 64 with multiplayer would have been cool to see, I am glad we eventually got Mario Galaxy instead. I think the trade-off was worth it. Though I am a bit curious to learn more about what they had planned with the simultaneous Mario and Luigi gameplay thing. That's a very unique concept that hasn't really been revisited in a mainline Mario game since then. Developed by Intelligent Systems, Super Mario RPG 2, also known as Super Mario Adventure, is a sequel to Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, that was also planned for the N64 disk drive. From the footage we have of the game, it seems that this would have involved a 2D cutout of Mario moving around 3D environments. It was also said to feature returning gameplay mechanics from the first game. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This looks awfully similar to Paper Mario. And that's because it basically is. After a legal dispute with Squaresoft, Nintendo reworked Super Mario RPG 2 into Paper Mario for the N64. No disk drive attachment needed. And I think that was the right choice. Without those legal issues, who knows what would have happened to the Paper Mario series? Would it even exist at all? And let's just imagine if Mario RPG 2 did come out. Well, it was still going to be released for that underperforming N64 disk drive, so that probably wouldn't have gone well either. So it's safe to say that we got the best possible outcome. But we're not done with the N64 Double D just yet. Okay, I'm not going to call it that. Let's try that again. But we're not done with the N64 disk drive just yet. We also have to talk about the Mario Artist series, a series of Mario Paint-like games released from 1999 to 2000. 4 games in the series were released in total, but 4 more were planned to be released as well. Those being Mario Artist Game Maker, Graphical Message Maker, Sound Maker, and Video Jockey Maker. It is not known what these games would have entailed, but if I had to put my thinking cap on, I would probably guess that Game Maker had something to do with making games, and Sound Maker with making sounds. This could have been an N64 version of FL Studio. As for the other 2, Graphical Message Maker reminds me of those drawings that you could send on Miiverse. So it might have been something similar to that, and with Video Jockey Maker, I just got no fucking clue. Like, what does that even mean? These were cancelled because, you guessed it, the N64 disk drive was a commercial failure. Such a shame. What wasn't a commercial failure was the Game Boy family of systems, and there were a few Mario games that were scrapped for the Game Boy lineup, like Wario Pool. I guess this counts. This is a cancelled rework of the Game Boy Color game 3D Pocket Pool. Midway through development, developer Nick Pelling pitched Wario as the main character to Nintendo, which they ultimately rejected, leading to 3D Pocket Pool being released as usual. However, a mock-up of the game's introduction was posted on Pelling's website. It begins with Wario sitting in his castle watching sports, before receiving a phone call inviting him to compete in a pool competition. After declining the invite, he saw other competitors taunting him on his television, so he changed his mind and agreed to the competition. Given the exposition we have, I think this would have worked really well. It fits Wario's character too, and we've never had a Mario pool game. Moving on to the next generation, a Game Boy Advance tech demo called Mario Kart 𝑥𝙬𝙬 was released in 2004 by Daenerys Entertainment Software. The goal of this game was to showcase the GBA's 3D rendering capabilities, particularly when handling multiple background layers. In 2015, the game was discovered in auction on eBay for around $600. See guys, Mario Kart World isn't that expensive. The game's title screen features an ultra version of the Mario Kart Double Dash key art, without the partner characters this time. The demo itself features one race on a track that kind of resembles Peach Circuit. And of course, I have to mention this absolutely bizarre looking Mario that you play as. Like, what on earth am I even looking at? This demo was never turned into a full Mario Kart game, and was instead reworked into the GBA version of Crazy Frog Racer. Given that we already had a Mario Kart game for the GBA with Super Circuit, I'm not too upset this got cancelled. Mario's Castle was a title planned for release on Nintendo's cancelled Project Atlantis, which, if you weren't already aware, was the originally planned successor to the Game Boy Color before the Game Boy Advance came around. Not much is known about this game, as all we have is a mention of it in an issue of the Electronic gaming monthly magazine. I personally have no idea what this could have been. I would probably guess that it would have involved some kind of wacky alternate universe where Mario is the bad guy, and you have to play as Bowser to save Peach, who is trapped in Mario's castle. Hence the name. Of course, we can't mention the Game Boy without paying some attention to its cancer-causing cousin. The Virtual Boy also had a couple of scrapped Mario games. VB Mario Land, also known as Mario Adventure, not to be confused with Super Mario Adventure, which was a name used for the cancelled Mario RPG sequel. I know, just bear with me. This was just supposed to be another Mario Land game, but with three-dimensional perspectives. The released Virtual Boy game, Mario Clash, which is a three-dimensional version of Mario Brothers, was meant to be incorporated into VB Mario Land as a minigame of sorts. But due to its cancellation, it was instead released as its own game. While we do have some footage of this demo, we unfortunately do not have a playable build of the game that has surfaced, at least not yet. You might be aware that Nintendo has recently been releasing a handful of Virtual Boy games on the Nintendo Switch Online Classics library, and they've actually released a couple of previously cancelled Virtual Boy games. So who knows? Maybe VB Mario Land will finally see the light of day. But not so fast, we also have to talk about VB Mario Kart, a cancelled Mario Kart game for the Virtual Boy. There is zero information available about this game, apart from a mention in an article posted by the Big N, a German magazine relating to video games. The article listed several cancelled games for the Virtual Boy, including VB Mario Kart. I could only imagine the nausea. Mario has had his fair share of sports games over the years, with soccer games, golf games, tennis games, baseball games, and even basketball games. But at one point, a Mario American football game was planned for the Nintendo GameCube. During its conception, Nintendo requested Retro Studios, the developer of the game, to shift focus to a traditional Mario-less football game instead, which was then known as NFL Retro Football and Retro Studios Football. But that was also cancelled due to the success of Madden. This is an interesting one for me because I have been wanting a Mario football game forever now. And you know what? F it. Why not just put Mario and Madden like they did with NBA Street V3? Madden is back on Nintendo consoles now. Hell, if they add that, I would probably buy it. But we gotta bring down the mood for this next one, because this is absolutely heartbreaking for me. Years before Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was even a thing, Sonic series director Yuji Naka planned a GameCube Mario and Sonic crossover action game, and presented it to Shigeru Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata. But unfortunately, it was declined due to Nintendo thinking it wouldn't make sense for Mario and Sonic to officially meet in an action game. I'm sorry, what? Like, why? What was the thought process behind that? Because yes, obviously something like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games is probably more marketable and easier to develop. But come on, a Mario and Sonic action game that combines aspects from both of their worlds and playstyles would have been revolutionary. And mind you, this was back when Sega had recently dropped out of the console market, effectively ending Mario and Sonic's rivalry. I just don't even know what to say anymore. So instead, let's talk about the DS's cancelled Boo game. Wait, am I reading that right? Yeah, sure enough, between 2006 and 2007, Retro Studios was developing a game called the Blob game, in which you had to fling around a blob with the touchscreen. Retro Studios pitched a different iteration of this game to Nintendo, involving boos. However, Nintendo rejected the idea because they wanted to use Retro Studios on other projects instead. Some of the concept artwork was posted later online by Sammy Hall, a former Retro Studios employee, before being taken down in 2020. Now that this seems pretty cool. I wouldn't have minded seeing something like this. Similar to the Game Boy Advance, there were supposed to be 2 total Mario Kart games on the DS, with Mario Motors being cancelled. This is an interesting one because it aimed to implement vehicle customization before Mario Kart 7 did. The whole idea of this game was to have players sculpt vehicle parts out of chunks of metal, so you were actually able to make the parts yourself. That's really damn cool. This game was first shown off to the world at the 2018 Reboot Developer Conference by 𝙂𝙚𝙤𝙚. The game was originally pitched to Miyamoto and Iwata sometime in the early 2000s. Both of them reportedly really liked the idea, but it's not known how much of this game was developed and why it was cancelled. From the concept artwork shown at the conference, we can see the different vehicles being made. I know I said earlier how this was supposed to be a Mario Kart game, but that's actually not entirely confirmed. This could have very well just been a vehicle customization game without actual racing. Or maybe this game was supposed to be a companion of sorts to Mario Kart DS, and you would have been able to transfer the vehicles you made from Mario Motors to Mario Kart DS to race with them. Who knows? The Wii by far had the most canceled Mario games out of any other Nintendo console. The first one is DDR Mario 2. As the name implies, this would have likely been a sequel to DDR Mario Mix on the GameCube. Not much is known about this game, however, or even how far it got into development, as its existence was only discovered from a leaked internal Nintendo spreadsheet listing DDR Mario 2 as a game that was going to be released for the Wii at some point. Konami was still said to be developing the game, but it's entirely possible that it never left the concept stages. It would be cool to see more of its surface though. The famous Nintendo Giga leak that we mentioned earlier gave us a look into 2 different Mario projects that were never made into full games. First up is Mario FPS, a first-person shooter that was controlled with the Wiimote and nunchuck combo. From the screenshot we have, it seems that this game, or at least a portion of it, would have taken place on Delfino Plaza. Given the little documentation we have of it and the screenshot looking a bit underbaked, I wouldn't be surprised if this was nothing more than a tech demo to test out the Wii's pointer capabilities. And I mean, let's just think about this for a second. A Mario first-person shooter. Yeah? Like, what was the plan there? Seriously. Koopa Troopa Force was another game detailed in this leak, and this was another shooter game, but played from a top-down perspective instead. The game had you shooting Koopa Troopas while running around a forest as Mario. This also seemed to be just another tech demo focused on the Wii Remote's pointer capabilities. But then we get to one of the most documented and well-known cancelled Mario projects, and that is Super Mario Spikers. This was a Mario volleyball game pitched by Next Level Games, originally under the title of Mario Volleyball. But as the project progressed, they wanted to add more violent and wrestling elements to the game. So the name was changed to Super Mario Spikers instead, which was also a nice play on Super Mario Strikers. Leaked prototype animations show the game's more violent nature. We also have leaked concept art of the game's potential character designs, with some iterations looking more unique and stylized, and others looking more traditional. We also have a few pieces of the game's potential settings, seemingly taking place on a game show of sorts. And we also have this island thing that sort of resembles DK Island. I think this would have been a very fun addition to Mario's sports game lineage. But unfortunately, Nintendo scrapped the project because it was too violent for Mario standards. Not sure why they wanted to cancel it altogether instead of just reworking things a tad to make it less violent. And to this day, we have not gotten a Mario volleyball game. Last but not least, we have a cancelled Mario and Rabbids game. Now, this was long before Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope were even conceptualized. And unlike those games being tactical RPGs, this game would have been an action game. Ubisoft Paris pitched this game in 2010, along with some concept art that depicts the Rabbids kidnapping Bowser while Mario chases after them. It was said to be a more self-aware, fun take on the Mario franchise, but it was reportedly rejected by Nintendo before the pitch was even formally presented. And to this day, this one piece of concept artwork is the only tangible remnant of this game. Not a huge fan of the Mario and Rabbids games myself, just because I'm admittedly not very fond of tactical RPGs, but I think a traditional platformer or adventure game with the Rabbids would have been pretty cool to see. So it's a shame it got scrapped. But there you have it. That's a complete history of every major cancelled Mario game. Now, there are a few things that I intentionally left out in this video. I wanted to keep this video exclusively tied to just unique Mario games that were never released. There were also a lot of scrapped Mario ports and remasters. So who knows, maybe in the near future I'll make a video covering those. Or hell, maybe even the numerous cancelled Donkey Kong games, because there are a lot of those as well. So let me know in the comments if those are things you would like to see. But yeah, that's all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.
Honestly, I would like to see some of those games be reworked into like newer modern games or something like that.
Sega didn't redesign Sonic because they wanted to, they redesigned him because they had to. Their biggest game got cancelled, their console was dying, and classic Sonic was physically broken in 3D. What happened next involved a secret design competition most fans have never seen, a cultural arms race against Nintendo, and one tiny detail, the color of his eyes, that split the fanbase in half and has never healed. This wasn't a redesign, it was a rescue mission. Let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious explanation. Modern Sonic exists because Sega was in trouble. Serious trouble. By the mid-1990s, Sega was developing a 3D Sonic game for the Saturn called Sonic X-treme. This was supposed to be the answer to Super Mario 64, the game that proved Sonic could work in 3D, the game that justified the Saturn's entire existence. It was cancelled. Development collapsed. The lead programmer was hospitalized from overwork. Internal politics between Sega of America and Sega of Japan killed the project, and the Saturn launched without a mainline Sonic game. That's like opening a McDonald's without burgers. You had one job, one mascot, and he didn't show up. The cancellation nearly destroyed Sega's morale. So when Sonic Team finally started working on what would become Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast, they weren't just making a sequel, they were building a life raft. The next Sonic game couldn't just be good, it had to save the company. That meant Sonic himself had to change. And the way they changed him involved an internal competition between 4 artists that Sega had barely talked about since. But we're not there yet. First, you need to understand what was actually wrong with classic Sonic, because the problem wasn't what anyone was expecting. This explains why the redesign happened, but it doesn't explain what the redesign actually fixed. And that's where we need to go deeper. To understand what modern Sonic actually solved, you need to understand what was wrong with classic Sonic in 3D, because it wasn't just an aesthetic issue, it was a functional one. Classic Sonic was built for 2D. Short legs, round body, big head. In pixel art seen from the side, every element read perfectly. You always knew where Sonic was and which direction he was facing, because the camera never moved. Left or right, that was it. But then 3D happened. And the moment Sega put classic Sonic into a 3-dimensional space, everything fell apart. His short legs made his running animation look like a blur of static. From behind, he was just a blue circle with spikes. You couldn't tell which direction he was facing at high speeds. He looked less like the fastest thing alive, and more like a bowling ball someone painted blue and kicked down a hill. In 2D, you always see Sonic from the side.
That's an insult.
In 3D, the camera goes behind him, above him, around him. And classic Sonic's proportions were never built for that. His arms were too short to show motion. His legs were too stubby to show stride. The redesign wasn't just for fashion. Without longer limbs, players literally couldn't read what Sonic was doing. But fixing the proportions only solves half the problem. Because Sega didn't just make Sonic taller, they made him cooler, edgier, angrier. And that shift had nothing to do with 3D cameras. So the technical problem is solved. But the real story of why modern Sonic looks the way he does is just starting. Most people watching aren't subscribed. Fix that now so you don't miss what comes next. The technical fix explains why Sonic needed longer limbs, but it doesn't explain why he suddenly looked like an action hero, why the attitude shifted, why the whole vibe changed from cute cartoon mascot to cool anime protagonist. For that, you need to understand what was happening in culture. By the late 1990s, everything had shifted. The kids who grew up with classic Sonic were now teenagers. Extreme sports were exploding. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was about to become a cultural phenomenon. Cool didn't mean cute anymore. Cool meant grinding on rails. Cool meant attitude. And Sega saw the opening. Mario had gone 3D and stayed family-friendly, colorful, safe. Mario was out here collecting stars and waving at butterflies. Nintendo wasn't chasing the teen demographic. So Sega made a calculated decision. Stop trying to be cute, start trying to be cool. Modern Sonic's design reflects this in every detail. The longer quills aren't just for 3D readability. They look like slicked back hair. The soap shoes with the buckles aren't just footwear. They're grinding shoes, directly inspired by the soap shoe brand that was peaking in the extreme sports scene. This man was literally designed to grind on rails before the game even had rails. The leaner body doesn't just animate better, it looks like an athlete instead of a cartoon. Sega wasn't just updating their mascot, they were repositioning their entire brand. Classic Sonic was a mascot for children. Modern Sonic was designed to steal the teen demographic away from Mario. And in the late 90s, that bet was worth everything. But here's what people don't know. Sega didn't hand this redesign to one artist and call it a day. They turned it into a competition. And remember that internal contest I mentioned earlier? The results are wilder than you'd expect. Here's something Sega has never really talked about, because when it came to redesign Sonic, they didn't just hand it to one artist. They held a competition. 4 artists from Team Sonic submitted redesigns, published in a Japanese magazine called Sega Harmony. Yuji Uekawa, Satoshi Okano, Naoto Oshima, Sonic's original creator, the man who literally invented this hedgehog, and Takumi Miyake, were completely different versions of what Sonic should become. And yes, the guy who created Sonic entered a contest to redesign his own character. Let that sink in. Uekawa won. His design became modern Sonic. But here's where it gets interesting. Satoshi Okano's submission, the runner-up, was harder, more street, more graffiti-inspired. And if you look at the final Sonic artwork that actually shipped, Okano's influence is everywhere. The angular poses, the sense that Sonic belonged on a spray-painted wall instead of a cereal box. That energy didn't come from Uekawa's clean winning design alone. It came from Okano's runner-up, pushing the entire team's internal vision towards something with more edge. The second place entry shaped the winner, and the man who technically lost the contest might have more DNA in modern Sonic than anyone realizes. But there's one more layer to this redesign that Sonic has never openly admitted, even though the games prove it on their own. Modern Sonic had to be taller, because he had to stand next to humans. Sonic Adventure didn't just introduce 3D gameplay, it introduced a world. Station Square, a city with realistic architecture, human NPCs, and fully voiced cutscenes where Sonic talked to people face to face. And classic Sonic, 2 feet tall with a giant head and stubby legs, would have looked like a toy in that world. Not a protagonist, not an action hero, a pet. He'd look like someone's emotional support hedgehog escaped from a carrier bag. To make Sonic someone who could lead a cinematic story, who could share the screen with humans and be taken seriously, Sega had to scale him up. Official height 100 centimeters, about 3'3", long enough legs to look like a character in the scene, not a collectible placed into it. This wasn't vanity, this was storytelling necessity. If Sega wanted Sonic to carry cutscenes, interact with humans, and drive a narrative with emotional weight, classic Sonic's proportions couldn't do it. Modern Sonic was built so the franchise could grow up. And now we arrive at the change that split the fanbase in half and has never fully healed. The one detail that turned a redesign into a war. The eyes. Classic Sonic had black dot eyes. Connected, simple, inherited directly from 1920s cartoon tradition. Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Bugs Bunny. Black dots that read at any size, in any context. They were designed for an era when characters needed to be icons first and individuals second. Modern Sonic has green eyes, separated, with visible irises, and this one change did something that couldn't be undone. It moved Sonic out of the cartoon tradition and into the anime tradition. Green emerald eyes gave Sonic individual expression, emotion you could read up close in a cutscene. Classic Sonic could look determined. Modern Sonic could look angry, sad, cocky, vulnerable, all through his eyes alone. But this change was the point of no return. Once Sonic had green eyes, he wasn't a cartoon mascot anymore. He was a character, a protagonist with interiority, someone who could carry drama, not just gameplay. And fans who fell in love with the simplicity of those black dots have never fully forgiven Sega for taking them away. The green eye controversy isn't really about color. It's about what Sonic is allowed to be. A cartoon or a character? A mascot or a person? That question started the day modern Sonic opened his eyes. And the fanbase still hasn't agreed on the answer. And if you need proof that this tension is still unresolved 25 years later, look at what happened in 2019. In 2019, Paramount released their first trailer for the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and the internet collectively lost its mind, but not in a good way. The original movie Sonic was designed to look realistic. Human teeth, separated eyes without the connected shape fans expected, muscular, weirdly proportioned legs.
Oh god, the
this man
trauma.
had calves. Actual human calves on a hedgehog. It was an attempt to push modern Sonic even further toward realism, and it backfired harder than anything in the franchise's history. The trailer was ratioed into oblivion. Fans made memes, petitions circulated. The backlash was so severe that Paramount delayed the entire film to redesign the character from scratch. And here's what makes this the perfect ending to our investigation. Look at the redesigned movie Sonic that fans actually love. It's not classic Sonic, it's not fully modern Sonic either. It's a hybrid. Bigger eyes that reference the classic connected shape, but with green irises. Shorter proportions than modern Sonic, but taller than classic. It's a character designed by committee after a public meltdown, and it landed exactly in the gap between the two designs that Sega created in 1998. 25 years after Yuji Uekawa redesigned Sonic for the Dreamcast, a Hollywood studio spent millions of dollars learning the exact same lesson Sega learned the hard way. Push too far from classic, and fans revolt. Stay too close to classic, and the character can't function in a modern context. The design tension that started with modern Sonic has never been resolved. It just keeps playing out over and over every time someone tries to draw this hedgehog. So why did Sega create modern Sonic? The answer isn't one thing. It's 7 layers stacked on top of each other, each one making the redesign more inevitable than the last. The first layer is survival. Sonic Extreme collapsed. The Saturn had no Sonic. Sega needed a comeback so badly that they didn't just make a new game. They remade their mascot. The second layer is technical. Classic Sonic's round body was unreadable in 3D. Short legs blurred at speed. The silhouette had no directionality from behind. Longer limbs weren't cosmetic, they were functional. The third layer is cultural. The extreme sports era gave Sega an opening to reposition Sonic as a teen action hero, while Mario stayed family-friendly. The soap shoes, the slicked quills, the lean body, all calculated to steal a demographic. The fourth layer is secret history. An internal design competition between 4 artists shaped modern Sonic, with the runner-up, Satoshi Okano's graffiti-inspired edge, bleeding into the final product, just as much as winner Yuji Uekawa's clean design. The fifth layer is narrative. Sonic Adventure put Sonic next to human characters in a realistic city. Classic Sonic's proportions would have made him look like a toy. He had to grow to 100 centimeters just to share the screen with people. The sixth layer is the point of no return. Green eyes replaced black dots. Sonic moved from the cartoon tradition to the anime tradition. He gained emotional range for cutscenes, but lost the simplicity that made him an icon, and the fanbase has been divided ever since. And the seventh layer is the proof that this tension never ended. In 2019, a Hollywood studio pushed Sonic's design too far toward realism. Fans revolted, and the redesign that saved the movie landed right in the gap between classic and modern. The same gap Sega created 25 years earlier still hasn't closed. Modern Sonic wasn't an accident. He wasn't a marketing decision made in a boardroom. He was the product of a company fighting for survival, a technology that broke the old design, a culture shifting underneath Sega's feet, and a group of artists competing to define what Sonic would look like for the next 25 years. Every longer quill, every green iris, every extra inch of leg, every angular pose, all of it has a reason. All of it was deliberate, and all of it saved Sega's most important character from becoming irrelevant in a world that was moving too fast for a round blue ball to keep up. If you want more deep dives into the things Sega has been hiding in plain sight, check the video on screen before it disappears. And subscribe, because we're just getting started uncovering what's been right in front of us for 30 years.
This is what I like about history, because everything is just so, everything like in history is just so complicated, it's incomprehensible.
Logan Paul just destroyed his reputation again. Oh my god, what reputation has? This implies he
I've seen the video itself, but I want to see Smuggler's reaction.
There's an existence of reputation to begin with.
Uh-oh, Logan Paul's being called a scammer again. Wow, would you look at that? The sky is blue today as well. So, I mean, unfortunately, Logan Paul has everything needed to succeed as a
He has so much money. I don't know why he does this. I'm not gonna lie.
Except he chooses
More
to
money,
not
more
be liked.
problems,
To
I
me, it
guess.
seems like the dude just chooses to wake up every single day, and instead of providing value, he chooses to figure out some way to extract value. I mean, just look at what the guy has done to the Pokemon card economy. Logan saw a market that was
before Logan Paul bought that like first edition Charizard, people like, I don't know, I felt like it didn't take off as much. Like, yeah, obviously there was collectors that bought like crazy, you know, cards and stuff for like crazy amounts of money. I do think that he like he made it pop off. He inflated that market a lot.
primed to inflate, used to his advantage,
Literal
bring out
Pokemon
every
inflation.
single cent possible.
Don't
And
look it
now
up.
He's showing no signs of stopping. It's giving Tulip Mania for sure, because there's only so many people that would want to spend $16 million on a Pokemon card that has some questions regarding its grading. But I mean, the dude has been traveling the world and collecting Pokemon cards, and he's been synonymous with many things over the years. Forced in Japan, failed crypto projects, Pokemon cards.
Let's see here.
Greed unlike any influencer I've ever seen. And now, he's back at it again, making headlines yet again. Because this time, he's sold—
Tulip Mania is now often used metaphorically to for any large economic bubble when asset prices deviate from intrinsic values. Oh, because tulips were really expensive. Haha, wait, that's funny. I actually know about this. I think I read about it one time. Yeah, tulips are really, really cool. And back in like the 17th century, Dutch people were selling them, and then they fucking crashed back down because there was like a craze about them because they're like nice flowers. It's the same thing as Pokemon cards, because like a tulip doesn't have inherent value, it's just a flower, but then if there's a lot of people that think it's really, really cool, it's gonna go up and then it's gonna crash.
His infamous
Yeah,
PSA 10
speculation.
Pikachu Illustrator card for a whopping
That is
$16.5
cool.
million.
That is a nice card, I will say that.
And there are a bunch of people on
$16 billion is crazy though.
line who
That's
claim Rogue
crazy.
actually
Crazy.
has
That's
the
crazy
right
one.
to do that, both morally and legally. And not only
I had
that,
to.
he's also already pushing his next digital Pokemon card project.
Yes! More gambling!
Before the last one is even blown over. So do you guys remember this card? The one he made his entire personality. The one he allegedly spent $5.3 million on.
That's insane.
The one he set the Guinness World Record on and wore to
Bro, give me that
WrestleMania.
$5.3
You might have seen the
million.
card I was wearing
I'll give it
around
to
my
chat.
neck.
This is the rarest card in the entire world. The most valuable Pokemon card in the entire
That is so cringe, I'm not gonna lie. It's like the people that have like really expensive mounts on World of Warcraft, and it's like, bro, no one cares.
hobby.
The holy grail right
Like, yeah,
here.
they're cool.
See, when I-
Like, I'm not gonna deny it. I think it's a nice looking card, but like, it's not everything, bro.
First started in
It's like
Pokemon,
Christian
like
with
most curious
Sonichu.
collectors.
Yeah, but at least with Christian, like, that thing doesn't have value, and it's just something he loves. This thing is like, oh, it costs $5 million. It's like, because it's not worth $5 million. Like, sentimental value, I think, is more precious than monetary, in my opinion. As someone who has lost their DS from like 15 years ago or something on a move, I was devastated for like fucking like a week.
Here's a good cow.
I looked up the most expensive Pokemon card, and this was it. The Pikachu
That is a cute
Illustrator.
card.
So this is apparently the quote-unquote rarest Pokemon card of all time. Once it was just a fable, whispered among collectors and fans alike. Now, I guess it just serves a questionable way for Logan Paul to obtain wealth, and I guess his need to throw it around for reasons unknown.
$16 million. $16 million.
$16 million. Wow, that's so cool.
16.1, baby.
Wow.
Well, what's actually the problem, besides the fact that $16.5 million for a single Pokemon card is absolutely insane? Well, we could start with the fact
money
that
laundering.
Logan technically isn't supposed to own the card, at least fully outright, or at least not more
What?
than, roughly half of it.
You paid $16 million and you can't even have it?
Because if you're confused about how anyone else could own parts of his card while it's clearly iced out around his neck in his possession, don't worry, I'll explain. Because Liquid Marketplace, that was introduced in 2021 to 2022 as a way for regular people to
It's an NFT?
co-own top-tier assets like expensive trading cards and NFTs. So instead of just one rich guy hoarding these expensive assets, you now have multiple rich guys hoarding expensive assets.
Wow, that's
but then
awesome. Love
normal
that.
people can buy digital IOU tokens to, I guess, owning these digital assets that these rich guys are hoarding. What could go wrong? Apparently a whole...
So you may have seen me introduce myself as the co-founder of Liquid Marketplace. I think our team is what solidifies us as one of the most dominant fractionalization co-ownership platforms. We have the most...
The internet is truly a funny place where you can do something really horrible and steal a bunch of money from people, and people will forget within like a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy did the crypto zoo scam,
Mhm.
and he just does it again, and he's gonna fleece people.
Exclusive, top tier, rarest assets in the world for the entire
it's so
world
easy.
to co-own.
Yes, I will be listing this card on a platform that I co-founded called Liquid Marketplace.
Co-own on Liquid Marketplace. The one and only PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator now available on Liquid Marketplace.
So the premise is simple. Liquid Marketplace could hold on to the physical item in their vault and sell shares of these items in the form of tokens on their website. It sounds eerily similar to a new thing that he's promoting called Rip It, but we'll get into that later on in this video. So Logan has essentially referred to himself as the co-founder of Liquid Marketplace on numerous occasions, and even went as far to promote the fact that you would be able to be a part owner of his super rare PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator Pokemon card through the site. So if the allure of a possible financial gain wasn't enough,
This is so cringe. Why would you want to be a part owner? It's the same thing, honestly. I don't know. I would argue this is as dumb as like, oh, I own part of Nintendo because like I bought $10,000 in stocks. It's like you don't actually own anything, brother.
Logan also sold fans on the idea that by purchasing digital shares of this card, you were also a part of the world record. And even part of his WrestleMania walkout. And even a part of Pokemon history. I mean, who in the Low gang wouldn't want that? And because, you know, he was reportedly selling 51% of the card on Liquid Marketplace, that meant that he wasn't supposed to be able to make decisions without majority approval. Things like, say, auctioning off on a live stream while yelling and banging a gong.
What are we at? Current bid on the Illustrator, 12 million.
But naturally, some of Logan's fans bought into this hype, so much so that he allegedly fractionalized roughly 51% of it for a reported $2.6 million. But you'll see Logan heavily denies this on Twitter. So, who knows if it really happened, but this is what the streets are saying. You know, because, hey, I'm just a villager idiot. I'm just reporting on what's going on. But like many other crypto NFT marketplaces that were created during the NFT boom, Liquid Marketplace pretty quickly had its fair share of problems.
Looks like highway robbery. 2.5% of all sales fees. What the fuck? Wait, Steam sales fee. For items? What's the item community fee? 5%. Curation fee. Funding fee. Wire fee. Sale fee. Bro, Steam Community Market takes 5% flat. Usually. Anyway, I guess it depends on the game, but like, holy fuck, that's crazy.
A big one being the lack of liquidity on Liquid Marketplace. The irony does write itself, which is kind of beautiful in this moment. But allegedly, users couldn't withdraw funds, and features that were promised on launch were yet to be added. And on top of that, no one was getting any information on what was even happening. And naturally, Liquid Marketplace eventually failed. And currently, it's facing fraud charges from Canada's Ontario Securities Commission. Logan Paul, it's worth noting, and very important to note, is not involved in that investigation, though. Let me just repeat that because I'm not...
Oh, he has a fall, man. Awesome. He already thought he... That's funny. He already had a fall guy.
Trying to get backhanded here, but Logan is not facing any charges from Canada's Ontario Securities Commission, as of recording this video at least. But this behavior might help explain the mismanaging going on behind the scenes. Because he does have a track record of working with some shady types, to put it lightly. But of course...
because he's a shady type himself. He surrounds himself with dumb, shady people.
The value of the Pikachu Illustrator shares dropped as the site struggled, and Logan was allegedly able to buy them back for a fraction of the price due to an alleged clause. And this never personally reimbursed his fans, who essentially got rug pulled by him. And allegedly, he never really followed up on this either. According to him, he was told that when he bought back the shares for a reported $250,000, which is, you know, peanuts compared to the initial value, that the money would be distributed to their fractional owners based on their respective percentages. You know, only a 90% loss there for all the holders, but
So he just basically did an inadvertent rug pull, because it was worth, what, like $5 million? Now he bought it back for $250?
At least Logan makes some money, but actually, scratch that. Allegedly, the 90% loss didn't even happen. It was basically 100% loss because they didn't see anything from that investment. Again, allegedly, the money just went poof.
At least in stocks, you can make some money. This is like, unironically, you have to be fucking stupid as fuck to fall for this. Yeah, and it's gone.
It was gone. As soon as it was sent to Liquid Marketplace, gone forever. So I guess no one got reimbursed, and I guess Logan Paul had no idea this whole time. But all of the tweets that Logan's been making in an attempt to do damage control are getting community noted with reminders that Logan himself boasted about being a Liquid Marketplace co-founder multiple times on multiple platforms. And he sort of is, reputationally at least, on the hook for some of these actions, especially in the early days. Because this definitely does not look good for his reputation nor his image. Because, I mean, this destroyed his reputation yet again.
There's no reputation to be had. I think, is CoffeeZilla still in that slap suit with Logan Paul? I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, and then he's also part of the Crypto Zoo thing, which is also, like, he stole so much money, like tens of thousands of dollars. People still eat his dick? Yeah, because he has an insane amount of clout, and there's always going to be dick writers.
Exactly.
Ox, hello.
again. Because, I mean, it doesn't seem like people are just coming up with this.
Slap suit, it's basically a lawsuit intended to drain someone's money, even if they think they won't win, or the person who's filing the lawsuit, even if they're completely in the wrong, are just going to drain the wallet of the person that they don't like. Yeah.
Stuff on their own. The clips are everywhere. So, of course, eyebrows started to raise when Logan announced that he was going to be selling the card in partnership with Golden Auctions, owned by Ken Golden, who is quite the character himself. Like, here's a quote from Twitter, from Dub Mentality. Let me get this straight. If you don't like his company, you're too poor to buy from him. And you also don't like collectibles. Is that about it? And then he quoted this video.
You just don't understand the business and you just want to hate. What I find is the people that complain about stuff are the people that will never be my customers in the first place.
Oh my god, if you're a broke boy, just say so.
Normally do not have the money to spend to buy a single thing on golden.com. And they just want to be bitter because they can't be happy. They want to tear down the industry. Maybe they missed the train.
You're just a hater. You don't have the money. You're poor. You just can't afford it, brother.
Maybe they have nothing better to do with their life. If you love collectibles, then you love this sale.
All right, dude.
Okay, yeah.
That was certainly a response. But Golden Auctions, they've already raised concerns from people online who seem to think they're not so legit. And immediately, all of the old partial owners of this card who thought they had the IOU tokens of this card, they were still waiting for some of their payouts and start.
The fact that like the government's not gonna enforce this shit. They've done this before. Why? Like I am a very empathetic person. I truly am. But like, in what universe do you think that someone fleecing you who has a track record like this, they're not gonna fleece you again? I don't know. It's just yeah, like IOU scream scam. No, seriously, I had friends that took so I had a bunch of Pokemon figurines, and they said they would borrow them and then they never gave them back. So I lost like 20 figurines and my parents were like really disappointed in me because I got basically fleeced. And I was like, it's not my fault. They said they would give it back. They all got scammed. And I learned at age 6 that I shouldn't trust anybody.
To wonder if they would actually see any reimbursement from the sale that just happened.
Isn't his fan base children though? Children don't have money, man. The people that got scammed in the
Now I'm looking at this design. I'm looking at this design here. I kind of, it's still using like the same model here. Like, I kind of like it. Maybe I'll use like do a cheapy model version of this, and then yeah, who knows? I wanted to do a few drawings before, like, I want a commission. Of course, I'm gonna do that's gonna not gonna wait until a long time.
The CryptoZoo scam, they were all like actual adults. Like, if you see the interviews that CoffeeZilla, the guy that was investigating him, the people that talked, they were all adults. Like, all of them.
Since, you know, they'd essentially been rug pulled by Logan's platform, in their opinion. Because people, rightfully so, called it unfair and not his card to sell. Because wasn't he supposed to only be the 49% owner? And even if he bought back all the shares fair and square, but the problem is, you know, the investors allegedly didn't even get their shares or any money back for that buyback. So, I don't know what's going on there. I feel like the coolest thing he could do here is just give all the investors their portion of that sale, because then he still pockets roughly $8 million from this, or well, you know, after taxes less, but you know, on paper,
as long as he pays the taxes, he's Gucci, huh?
He gets $8 million,
crazy work.
And then he proves to the world, look at that, I did something that actually made people money. Why wouldn't he do that? Because these fans believed him, even after he proved time and time again to be, you know, less than trustworthy. CryptoZoo. Dink Doink. There's probably a handful of others I can't remember.
Oh, Dink Doink!
I forgot about that.
That stupid slinky looking dumbass like spring. Yeah, Dink Toink. I completely forgot about that. See, this is what I mean. The internet like forgets this dumb shit, and it can just keep going. That was a crypto coin that was literally like a what's it called? A little spring.
Now got the issues in designing here. They're kind of sort of inspired by both Lightning McQueen and the Flash. I mean, the general design of it, I think, is the general design of these shoots. It actually belongs to. How do I say this? I say this is more of the old school version of my OC. More of the 2018 version of it. It's like, I think I want to go back to the classics. The classics are, like the 2018 model, or like the 2018 OC, really more so. This is like a two-tone gray purple shirt with like, I believe it was yoga pants and like Sonic inspired shoes. It's very like, the theming is all over the place, but yeah. I think like, I want to add something to this real quick. Oh, I have an idea what to add here. Hold on real quick.
Off the top of my head as well. But I guess in the end, it seems like Logan thinks he's off the hook, because in a recent tweet, Logan claims that even though he offered to sell up to 51% of the card on Liquid Marketplace, he only actually sold a measly 5.4% for about $270,000 in 2022. My main question is then, where is the $2.6 million from? Because that's a pretty big difference, to say the least. But I mean, with all the threads on Reddit, people showing themselves being blocked by Logan in real time, it feels like there's more than just a few people who allegedly lost some money here. But now they're all online, and some of them are trying to hold Logan accountable any way possible. And then you have others in the whole separate camp who consider themselves smarter for not falling victim to this ploy and are reminding people that apparently the site's terms and conditions said that they could decide to sell the item without consulting the shareholders. So it's sort of on them in their opinion. But overall, I mean, this just shows you why you should never put money in anything like this. So technically, by the terms, Logan had every right to sell the card for its outrageous price tag to an equally outrageous buyer. Because the winning bid for the rare card was placed by the venture capitalist 𝙂𝙚 𝘼𝙚𝙧𝙖𝙩,
son of former White House communications director Anthony Scaramucci. He sounds like a supervillain. I'm not even joking.
The son of former White House communications director Anthony Scaramucci. But for reasons I don't know, 𝙂𝙚 𝘼𝙚𝙧𝙀
sounds like he's in The Godfather.
Is reportedly on a quest to collect the uncollectible. He reportedly also hopes to eventually buy a T-Rex dinosaur fossil and the Declaration of Independence on his planetary treasure hunt. And 𝙂𝙚 was even ready nearby on the live stream to come receive his new card. Or chain, I guess. So that made a lot of people speculate, wait a second, was all this planned to begin with to build hype with an enormous sale around this site? I don't know. But whether it's for 𝙂𝙚's planetary treasure hunt or Logan's newest endeavor, ripit.co, I don't know. And speaking of, let's talk about the new project. So ripit.co is another website built around
rip packs that represent real physical graded cards. Sell them for instant cash, store them in our vault, or ship them straight to your door. I don't trust any motherfucker that's like across, I don't know, across the ocean ripping packs for me to not be fucking faking this shit. Are you dumb?
Actual card openings.
I don't even trust the little machines. You know what I'm talking about? That people play on stream sometimes? You know, the little machines that you can like play with chat, like you can put coins in and then you can try and, you know, grab something.
Except on Ripit, they're supposed to represent real physical packs that you can reportedly then choose to either sell for instant cash, store in their vault, or ship straight to your door. And I'm going to be real here, but this sounds exactly like those hypebeast digital unboxing sites that his brother Jake Paul was promoting back in 2017. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, In my opinion, this kind of feels like gambling. Sure, one could argue that Pokemon cards are gambling, but having the immediate option to sell the cards for instant cash on this virtual unboxing website makes it seem a whole lot more like gambling to me. Seems like a big gray zone.
And it's fake gambling too. Not that I think that those gambling sites are regulated at all because they are digital, but still. So it gets caught doing it, they can just make a new account and do it again. Yeah, pretty much. Super easy.
Once again, Logan has his face
Let's go
comfortably
gambling, let it
plastered all
ride.
across their branding and their website. So, will he scrub his ties with Rip It in a few years? Who knows?
Rip
Yeah,
It
if he
is a
gets
new collectible
sued.
platform co-founded by Logan Paul.
That's me. That's me, guys. This is me. That's me. I'm the dad.
Every single one of the first edition cards that are about to be pooled will be given away for free to those who join the waitlist for Rip It, including the guaranteed holographic card that could be a Charizard worth up to $550,000, maybe even more.
How do I even trust these motherfuckers that they didn't weigh it, that they didn't use an x-ray to, like, check it? Like, this is, like, such an easy, like, this is like a fucking scam. Like, it's the easiest thing ever.
The final allegation of this whole story, which Logan also denied on Twitter, is that he benefited from insider trading on Polymarket during the entire auction. But again, there's literally zero concrete evidence here. But a Twitter user did notice a Polymarket account with the same profile photo as the one Logan had, profiting off of some pretty interesting bets during the auction. So these would be some bets from someone who would have an idea of what the sale price would be going for. Now, is this a coincidence? Logan seems to think so. And yeah, I guess someone could have changed their profile picture to the same one as his.
Why didn't it play? Oh, real quick. Refresh. Okay, now that is refreshed. Real quick. Okay, now it's working. Boom. Oh, come on.
So that allegations like this would get thrown around. That's not crazy to assume. But like I said, again, Logan denies these claims completely. And I'm not giving an opinion there unless we get some more evidence here. But all I do know is the hobby of collecting Pokemon cards, as it once was, is pretty much gone now. Normal people have unfortunately been priced out. Unless you buy a fractionalized promise, which honestly doesn't have a great track record either. Regardless though, I guess you could easily convince fans that buying into a Pokemon
Dude, what if someone puts their house for collateral and then they buy like a quarter of this Fugazi NFT Pikachu holographic
Christ.
1 of 1, dude.
Card or
I bet you some
NFTs is a way to
motherfucker
get
would do
rich.
that.
After all,
I
he
bet
did just
him,
make
unfortunately,
millions. And the
someone would do
buyer
that.
tweeted about getting the card in the Pokemon Museum, which I guess is a great outcome from this. But at least for now, everything in this video are allegations and scorn fans venting about their frustrations and using blocks as proof that Logan is at fault. But I'm pretty sure he blocked me after I called him out for the whole Japan forest situation, so that was a minute ago. So I mean, I'm just guessing he pretty much blocks everyone who criticizes his garbage actions. But hey, you know, 2026, or year of the flaming horse, I think it is. I guess Logan Paul thought that was just a great year to destroy his reputation yet again.
Flaming
But who
horse
knows?
shit.
Knowing him, he'll probably be back with something else pretty soon. But regardless, I'm sure he has good enough lawyers that he would know if he's covered in a situation like this. But as you guys know, I'll be back with another video covering this if anything happens. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace! Oh my god. What a meme, bro. That is crazy work.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Is Kevin end up in jail? I don't think so. I think he's just gonna keep fleecing. Until eternity. Is audio partially cutting for anyone else? Well, if nobody else is complaining about it, probably not, no? Am I cutting? Like, I feel like the mods would have pinged me, no? Anyway, go check them out. Go check out 𝙂𝙗𝙖.
And go check them out. Yep. Honestly speaking, that's a wild situation to have. To be honest. All right. Little bows on the shoes. Okay, that's cool. That's more close to the actual model, but yeah. And I gotta adjust the hand real quick. Fucking hell.
Level 1, the EMT Basic Student. You're in class 3 nights a week.
I recently found this channel
4 months
called Chill POV Guy. And he's really good.
of training. Basic life support,
Scenes.
CPR, bleeding control, splinting, patient assessment. Your instructor is a 20-year paramedic veteran. He's teaching you the fundamentals. Scene safety first. You can't help anyone if you become a patient yourself. Then, ABC. Airway, breathing, circulation, the foundation of emergency care. You practice on training mannequins. You learn proper technique, chest compressions, rescue breathing, automated defibrillators. You do clinical rotations, hospital emergency departments, real patients. You observe, you assist, you learn from experienced providers. You see your first real trauma, car accident, multiple injuries. The team moves efficiently. Everyone knows their role. You're nervous, but you're also fascinated. This is what you want to do. You take the National Registry exam, 120 questions. You study hard, you prepare well, you pass. You receive your EMT basic certification. You're ready to work. You're 20 years old.
What was those words? No, he's using images are AI generated. I wonder if the script is too. Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. No, he's shit. He's a little shit. He didn't. I quickly looked at the description. He didn't even mention AI. Let's go, animation.
I'm telling everyone about the chipmunks thing. What? No, you can't. Give me that. Oh, stop. It's for YouTube. I, 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚
It's for
obsessed
YouTube.
with Alvin and the Chipmunks. I was like 6 or 7 years
Who
old when my
wasn't?
dad played a mysterious Christmas album with some very high-pitched singers named Alvin, Simon, and Theodore, the voices of 3 angels. Alvin! And some normal guy named Dave who yelled a lot.
Why do they sound like that?
The Chipmunks.
Really?
No, it's just special effects.
Oh man. But Santa's real, right? And the Easter Bunny?
Yeah.
Oh no.
My dad explained they made the chipmunk voices by first recording someone singing super slow, then speeding up their voice to match the song's tempo. But why go to all this effort? Why chipmunks? Who is
How
Dave?
did it even-
My dad didn't know and didn't care, and thus my Google expedition began. I watched interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, never-before-seen videos. I scoured Wikipedia pages, news articles, obscure, poorly constructed fan websites. Anything to feed my never-ending
How did I even rotate it?
I listened to the album on repeat well after Christmas, but it wasn't enough. I needed more chipmunk albums, more songs, more media. But these wonderful eBay treasures were just out of reach. I was a child, and I did not.
Wait, how did I even rotate
Also,
it?
my parents were getting a bit concerned.
Guess who got the new Wiggles soundtrack?
Not now, Mom, I'm busy. Chipmunk's Christmas. But, honey, it's April. Whoa, April already? Yeah, I'll listen to some Wiggles.
Hold on real quick. I don't know what the fuck I just did. It's irritated. Oh no.
It's just not the same. So I toned down my sacred interest. I packed it away into the depths of my mind, much like a chipmunk hiding nuts for winter. I only suggested we play the Chipmunk album a normal amount of times, and only during the holiday season. It was the perfect cover until December 14th, 2007. The brand new, rebooted CG animated Alvin and the Chipmunks the movie hit theaters. The dopamine rush I got seeing this film. 1 hour and 32 minutes
Oh
of
no.
content, 16 new Chipmunk songs. And Jesse freaking McCartney, the teenage heartthrob of my generation, was playing Theodore.
Wow, Illy's old.
What? I'm not old! My insane secret obsession had finally gone mainstream, making it officially not weird to enjoy year-round, baby. But simply seeing this movie was not enough. No. No. I needed to contribute to the $300 million it made worldwide by securing my own copy on DVD, which became the 7th best-selling DVD in 2008. That's a big deal for 2008. I bought the original motion picture soundtrack, which won top soundtrack at the American Music Awards, and it went platinum in the US as well as in my headphones. And you best believe I spent my Christmas money on the Nintendo DS Chipmunk rhythm game, which included even more Chipmunk cover songs like Life is a Highway, and of course I achieved a perfect 100% score on every single level. And I did this well after Christmas and well into my middle school years, and I viciously concealed every bit of this strange, impassioned interest. Because I knew this was cringe. Everyone else was listening to Taylor Swift and Coldplay. No one at my school believed in these tiny, furry, certified platinum pop culture icons. No one but me. Back then, I really did believe my allowance dollars directly contributed to the success of these cursed creatures. Because a sequel, no, a squeakquel to the Chipmunk movie was slated to hit theaters just 1 year later, in 2009. And although I was very excited for its release, and I watched that trailer in every fan AMV I could find, my patience was wearing thin. I was getting into other things. More mature media, aka video games. And the early 2000s was a gold mine. Super Mario Galaxy, Nintendogs, Animal Crossing, The Legend of Zelda. A couple of these did pique my interest and send me into some sleepless
I'm trying to
spirals,
figure it
and none
out.
can compare to Toontown, Disney's MMORPG, where you create a toon and save the town from evil, greedy robots. And that's just the main storyline. There's so much to do in Toontown. Minigames, racing, interior design, glitching into the void, adopting a doodle, fishing, shopping. But yeah, saving the world is arguably the most important part. Your quests, your toon tasks, begin easy enough. Meet me. Retrieve a stolen chalkboard eraser from the cogs. Any cog. Just walk down the street, pick a fight, and get the eraser. This'll be a breeze. What? It's fine. It's cool. I can do this. Just gotta fight a few more cogs, get the eraser. Okay, now to get my next world-saving task. All right, map says go to Minnie's Melody Land. What kind of idiot would spend real-life money on a repetitive, rage-inducing, Sisyphean game with such unimpressive graphics? Me. Sorry, Chipmunks, Mommy's got a doodle to feed. All right, Luigi, my
Whoa.
HP is really low, but if you can do one flip, that will heal me just enough to take these bozos
I
down.
completely.
What do you say? What? Luigi? Surely this obsession was a little less cringe than the Chipmunks one, right? Wrong. When I brought up this incredible game at the lunch table, no one at my school knew what the I was talking about. Why? Because this was a Disney game advertised on Disney Channel. And 6th graders don't watch Disney Channel. That's Cringe. So who did I squad up with every night to save the world? My younger sibling, who was in 1st grade. Their best friend, who was also in 1st grade. And that kid's older brother, who was in 4th grade. Yeah, it was some pretty epic gaming. Me and these 3 little dudes would be locked in for hours, defeating hundreds of cogs, earning a bunch of new battle skills, all while constantly raging at these insane toon tasks. What do you mean, defeat 70 cash bots? I just spent 30 minutes leveling a 5-story building, and there are only 10 freaking cogs in there. Do you have any idea how long this is gonna take? Meep, meep. Just put the HP in the bag and no one gets hurt. In retrospect, I'm glad my dad pulled the plug on my Toontown obsession, because to this day, I still have not beat that game. The Toon world is still under attack, and it's all my fault. God, what am I doing? I need to go fight the Disney CEO. I can't deny it. Those years
I need to go fight the Disney CEO. Holy shit.
Singing chipmunks in a techie video game were a little weird, but those years were also some of the happiest memories of my childhood. I was cringe, but I was free. Anyway, let me know what cringy obsessions you had or still have in the comments below.
I generally have no idea how I even rotated the fucking image. Honestly, I gotta figure this out. But anyway, that's gonna be like, I can figure that out off stream. But anywho, I've been streaming for now. Oh wow, actually around 2 hours now. Holy shit. Also, welcome back, Blitzies. Oh, ad is starting soon. Oh. Wait, I thought we just had an ad. Anywho, I'm just pretty sure I'm just gonna be pretty much ending the stream here. Ending the stream here. I want to say just pretty much thank you everyone for joining today's stream. My name is Brandon Woods. I'm a Friday streamer. I stream lots of video games, chat, suggest me, as well as I draw art, and hopefully I'll sooner or later do 3D modeling over here. And that being said, oh, there's an ad. Okay, now an ad starts to play. All right, so an ad starts to play in the middle of my outro. Shit. Ooh. Anywho, yeah, while the ad's playing, we still have some time to watch videos. Real quick. I will quickly... There you go, I saved it. Ooh. But yeah, Allow me to play.
Did you know Nintendo hardware designers left to form their own company and gave birth to the motion control era 6 years before Wii? Their console started with tennis, bowling, baseball, golf, and boxing. So basically, Wii Sports. They also had what was essentially the Wii Balance Board long before Nintendo, and motion control sword swinging too. They ended up suing Nintendo not for stealing their ideas, but their technology. In this video, we're going to cover the full history, who these guys were, why they left Nintendo, and how they helped pioneer motion control gaming, and then the legal battle with their former employer. This is the full story of 𝙂𝙚𝙖𝙩𝙚. As a kid, Katsuya Nakagawa loved tinkering with gadgets. Eventually, he got his degree in electronics, and in 1979 went looking for work. He made his way to a toy company called Nintendo, and brought a karaoke set he created for singing in the shower. Nintendo president Yamauchi was impressed, and hired him on the spot. I joined Nintendo hoping for a career that would bring people joy, he remembers. Initially, his duties included factory maintenance, but before long, he was working on arcade games like Radar Scope, Donkey Kong, and Mario Brothers. Guys like Miyamoto were designing software, while Nakagawa was designing the hardware. After a while, he was tasked with exploring if it was possible for Nintendo to make a home console.
The Blitzies are back. Twitch is back. Alright, so now I'm gonna do my outro again. I just want to say pretty much, thank you everyone for joining today's stream. My name is Brandon Blitz. I'm a variety streamer. I stream lots of big games, chat to this week, as well as to draw art, and hopefully I want to do 3D modeling for everyone here. That being said, I gotta get going now, Blitzies. Bye bye, Matane.